Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Taking Care of Business. Today we're following up on one of our segments, which is Agent Stories, and I'm joined by one of our senior commercial real estate consultants, Jade Simpson. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Jade is a senior consultant, which means that she's extremely successful, I'd say, and experienced in the commercial world. Where did you start your career, even before real estate, and then what made you get into real estate?
I was actually on holiday over here at the time, and one of my friends was working in real estate. Literally, I flew on the Thursday, I had an interview with Cam on the Sunday, and then literally the following week I got the job with Allsop.
You didn't start in commercial with us, did you?
No, so I actually started in residential lettings.
What are the biggest differences between the residential side and commercial?
One of the main problems that we're having with the commercial sector itself is that there is a real lack of supply, whereas residential, obviously, you've got off-plan projects, you've got lots of secondary market that you can sell.
I've got on my points of discussion that's provided by our fantastic marketing team and Cash is PK and Jade to discuss the funny questions, situations that you've faced as a commercial real estate consultant.
Now, I do have a very funny story. So this happened probably about a year or so ago now. We were in the middle of this meeting and my tenant had accidentally set off the silent security alarm in the office. And I'm not joking, within a couple of minutes, there was armed security bursting through the doors, thinking that we were robbing the office. And I was thinking, what is going on?
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Taking Care of Business. Today we're following up on one of our segments, which is Agent Stories, and I'm joined by one of our senior commercial real estate consultants, Jade Simpson. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Jade is one of our senior agents, so just to explain a little bit, to become a senior agent in the business, it means that you've what we call build a certain amount of money within the business in a certain time frame. So the reason I give a background is Jade is a senior consultant, which means that she's extremely successful, I'd say, and experienced in the commercial world. So hopefully we'll have some good insights and some good experience sharing from you.
I hope so.
But before we got to that, where did you start your career, even before real estate, and then what made you get into real estate?
So previously I was working in events, and it was a bit of a funny story actually. I went to a dinner party and one of my friends had bought a date with them, and we were chatting, and he was a real estate agent in central London, and he said to me, have you ever thought about being an estate agent? And at the time, I was sort of a little bit fed up of where I was at with the events business and things like that. And I said, no, I've never really thought about it. And he said, I think you should go for it. You're very good with people. You're very confident. I think you could, you do well. So literally a week later, he got me an interview. I had an interview and I got the job. And I started out in residential lettings in central London, and then progressed quite quickly into residential sales. So I was working in central London for a long time, and I absolutely loved it, to be honest with you. It was a real good experience. It really opened my eyes to, the opportunity that,
Wow. Well, what a story. I think, did they call that a sliding doors
it was,
moment? If
honestly,
it wasn't for that
really
fella at that time.
It really was so strange. And then when I moved, I was actually on holiday over here at the time, and one of my friends was working in real estate, and she said, why don't you come over here, move over here? And at the time, I remember thinking to myself, I was doing well at work. Making a move to a no salary job was quite, risky. And anyway, literally I flew on the Thursday. I had an interview with Cam on the Sunday, and then literally the following week I got the job with Allsop.
Wow.
And within a couple of months I was over in Dubai. So again, it was really through friends that I sort of fell into real estate, if you like, and joined Allsop. So
what was the deciding factor, do you think, in you, not the move to Allsop in particular, but just that made you think, okay, I'm going to leave this successful career I've got and take the jump to Dubai?
Do you know what? It was, I think at the time, I'd been in London for 14 years. It was a long time. And, I had done, well where I was at, and I just wanted a bit more progression. And at the time, a lot of my friends were settling down, and it just felt like a good move. I had no ties. Everyone thought I was mental for doing it. And I remember my mum and dad saying, this is such a bad idea. Why would you do that? You're secure. I had a house in London. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to risk it. I'm going to take the leap, and I'm glad I did. It's paid off. So yeah, it's.
And then you didn't start in commercial with us, did you?
No, I didn't. So I actually started in residential lettings. And it was a couple of months in, actually. I'm not even sure whether you remember this, but you actually sent me an email to say, you know, could we have a meeting? And instantly I was like, what have I done?
I panic all the time if someone sends me an email.
What am I in trouble? And I remember obviously meeting with you, and you said, you know, there's a position come available within the commercial department. You know, we think you'd be very well suited for it. And I remember at the time being very apprehensive about it because, you know, even though I'd been in the real estate industry for a number of years prior to obviously moving over here, commercial wasn't really a big segment within the business of my previous company. And I remember just thinking to myself, oh, you know, but what about this? And is there enough business? And firing like thousands of questions at you. And I think you said, meet with Emra, who is the head of commercial, and just see how you get on. And I remember meeting Emra instantly, you know, having a bond with him and thinking, actually, no, I really want to give it a go. And even that was a risk, to be honest, because I remember really having to think about it because I'd been in branches and I just about got under my, you know, where everything was and the process of residential lettings. And then I remember thinking, oh, you know, I'm going to have to start again. And I remember those first few months when I did join the commercial department, it's a whole new world, you know, it's new processes, it's learning about licenses, visa capacities. There's lots of, you know, differences really, you know, within commercial and residential. Well,
that was my next question, and maybe you've kind of already half answered it. But what are the biggest differences between the residential side and commercial?
I mean, there is lots of differences, and there's lots of challenges, you know, in commercial. I think at the moment one of the main problems that we're having with the commercial, you know, sector itself is that there is a real lack of supply. Whereas residential, obviously, you know, you've got off-plan projects, you've got lots of secondary market that you can sell, you can cross-sell areas, whereas with commercial, you don't really have that beauty. You know, if somebody is looking for something in the DMCC, for example, you know, we're restricted to looking within JLT. You know, we can't really say, oh, what about this location or something like that. And I think that predominantly is a real big issue at the moment, is the supply and demand.
Yeah, and we've mentioned on the podcast a couple of times before, and there doesn't seem to be any developers who are really looking to launch or develop new commercial projects or buildings?
I think not in the immediate future anyway. It's at the moment, you know, we are limited in terms of what we can offer people in the areas that we can offer. You know, there is obviously talks about new buildings potentially coming up, but
I think
a long time.
The flip side of that, which you'll know better than me, can be good for some people in the market is, one, the returns are great at the moment because new commercial tenants coming in don't have a lot to choose from. And I was talking to Emra, who you mentioned a moment ago last week, and some of the people that brought offices off him maybe 2 or 3 years ago, which coming out of the returns that they're making now is phenomenal.
Insane. I mean, I'm very passionate about the commercial market. You know, I really do a lot of research, and I'm very, you know, honest with clients. And I remember joining the team, and obviously commercial is slightly different, whereas we do a lot of everything by a per square foot basis, for example. And I remember a couple of years ago when I joined the team, things that were selling for, say, 1,000 per square foot are now selling 2,500 per square foot. And that increase is just insane. And to be honest with you, the way that the market is going, and with the, you know, the influx of, you know, new investors and residents to Dubai, I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. And because of that, the prices are still so strong and rising. Yeah.
So who is coming to Dubai at the moment? What industries or businesses, or who is it you guys are talking to at the moment? Because I know there's a healthy interest from within Dubai and people starting up business or expanding. But are people always interested in who's coming, who's making the move to Dubai at the moment?
There's a lot of, you know, obviously European companies that are coming across, perhaps making, you know, Dubai one of their more central hubs, or, you know, developing their MENA region and having a head office based in Dubai. And that ranges, to be honest with you, from tech companies to retail companies. I think, you know, there's a good variety, if you like, of companies that are setting up. But what you tend to find at the minute is it's not just current businesses that are expanding, it's also new businesses that are coming into Dubai that are setting up for one reason or another.
And again, we've referenced them a couple of times, but again, I was talking to him last week, and He's absolutely adamant that on the residential side, the market's going to stay strong for at least a couple of years yet. And based on the fact of so many businesses are coming over and setting up within Dubai, and just the job creation, and we've seen we've seen the population increase by 50,000 people so far this year. So just the sheer amount of, and I always like to look at the commercial market as well because it is a good indicator. But these jobs and businesses, these businesses and industries that are setting up, they need people to work in them.
Exactly.
And that will power the residential side.
And also, you could almost say it starts with commercial, really, and how the market is going to flow. Because if you think about it, the majority of people that are living in Dubai or, wanting to move to Dubai, you have to be on a working visa. And all of those businesses that set up here have to have some form of commercial entity. So that's why I think the prices are where they are and where they're going to continue to grow to be honest with you.
Yeah, 100% agree. And maybe for some people watching, they've maybe not thought of commercial in that way. It kind of is the gatekeeper to Dubai in a way in terms of predicting the next 6, 12, 18 months in terms of what's going to happen in the wider market. And obviously the common topic at most dinner parties, barbecues, etc., is the residential market. How much has your rent gone up? Have you seen how much that house has sold for down the street? They don't realise the commercial impact on it.
Obviously we do get a lot of investors that, perhaps have only, invested in residential properties. And, people that are investing in commercial real estate, it's a great business because they hold value, I personally think, so much better than somewhere in a residential building. And also there's other things to consider. For example, when you're getting a tenant into your office space, they're going to look after it because they've got clients that are coming to visit the office. There's an expectation that, things need to be presentable at all times. Whereas you could rent something out and perhaps, the tenants don't quite look after it as well, or there's problems. Whereas with commercial, you don't really tend to have that. And again, because you don't have new buildings, going up all the time or new areas to explore, those buildings that they've invested in are making them a serious profit.
And these tenants tend to be long-term as well, because by the time you've paid all your fit-out costs, your design costs and everything else.
Yeah, you tend to find that realistically, even for tenants, you're looking at 2 years plus, because by the time they've set up business, they've sent, business cards, whatever, it's more hassle than it's worth to then move. So you're getting a solid income.
So we're talking about the returns that are available in the commercial market. Is there any catches? Is there a barrier to entry? Can anyone, not walk off the street, but can anyone buy commercial real estate?
Anyone can buy commercial real estate. Like I said, at the moment we have a lot of opportunities. Just for example, off the top of my head, we have something 1,700 square foot, so not a massive office, but that's achieving a net return of over 10%. Now, realistically, the lowest you really find, or what we would call a decent ROI, it starts from around 7%. But we do have opportunities that are 12% ROI. It's really a no-brainer, in my opinion, when you're comparing market and what you can get for your money.
Yeah, no, it isn't. Like we mentioned previously, your tenant's probably going to be an established business. They're going to be there for a number of years. You're probably going to get a one-check payment.
Yeah,
so it's a very, very attractive market.
And it's very much more. It's more sustainable. You know you're not going to have any problems with the tenants. Like you said, one-check payments, maybe a good company.
I mean, there is the caveat to that is there is advantages. It's like central London and central Dubai, really, really low returns comparably to what you can get on the outskirts. But on the residential side, they maintain the value. They're always popular in demand. They'll always rise quickly. The location's excellent. But as a cold hard investment, then, and actually in lots of major cities around the world, it is the commercial market that most investors like to play in the most, if you want to use the word play. And then they'll dabble more on the residential side, whereas here it seems to be a bit of the flip side.
No, it is, yeah. And like I said, I've been out with clients that, when we've had a conversation and they've said, I'm looking to invest in residential, for example. And once I've had a conversation and educated them and guided them in terms of what I think is a good investment, they've actually changed and said, actually, no, you're right. Maybe I should go down the commercial route. And that's how we've gone. And they've purchased offices through us because of that reason, because they've been educated, someone that knows the market and is passionate about the market as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Okay, the next point I've got on my points of discussion that's provided by our fantastic marketing team and Cash is PK and Jade to discuss the funny situations that you've faced as a commercial real estate consultant.
Right, okay. Now, I do have a very funny story. So this happened probably about a year or so ago now, and I was in the middle of a contract signing in Almas Towers in JLT. Now, Almas Towers is quite renowned for being high security because predominantly the businesses in there specialise in jewellery and gems. And we were in the middle of this meeting and my tenant had accidentally set off the silent security alarm in the office. And none of us knew. We were just sitting there casually chatting about the thing. And I'm not joking, within a couple of minutes, there was armed security bursting through the doors, thinking that we were robbing the office. And I was thinking, what is going on? And there were so many different languages going on. The landlord at the time, because he was in his office, but the current tenancy hadn't yet ended, but they weren't in the actual office. And so the police arrived and the landlord was showing him the title. It's me, this is my title deed. It was a very funny story. To be honest, it was actually quite traumatic.
I was going to say,
we were in there for 4 hours getting...
Afterwards,
yes, because it was making sure that, it was a legitimate thing, what we were doing. God, that was a really funny story. That was about a year or so ago that happened.
So is it like a proper SWAT team that came through the door with the guns drawn?
It was literally, honestly, I was like... but no, it was a very funny situation, to be honest. But we encounter lots.
You
of
laughed about it afterwards.
I mean, at the time, I was absolutely traumatized. I was thinking I was going to get in Al Barsha, but now it was funny looking back. It was a funny situation, and like I said, there was so many different languages. No one really understood what was going on,
especially for the first 2 minutes of just chaos.
Yeah, it was just pure chaos until we obviously explained what was going on.
So how did he set the alarm off? Did you ever find out?
Basically, what he was doing was he was inspecting the office, and he tapped something under like one of the desks, and a noise sort of triggered, but no one really paid attention to what it was. And nothing happened. And then, like I said, literally a couple of minutes later, armed security barged through the door and was like, "What's going on? Who's robbing let's see your IDs." Da, da, da. It was.
So be careful, anyone ever visiting that tower, not
Almas
to go
Towers.
At least you know
it's secure.
It's a good place to have an office, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
JLT, I know you've mentioned it a couple of times now. It's got to be one of the most transacting areas for commercial.
It is.
What are the other main?
Business Bay and downtown, I think, are also very, very prominent in the commercial. Most transactions. Also DIFC as well. I would say they're the main 4 real areas where you're generating the most.
It makes sense, and people probably have the same thoughts as when we're looking for a tower. You need something that's got good road networks, that's got all the. It sounds daft, but all the cafes and restaurants for people to go to, public transport, like the metro going to them, and
it's very important. And as I said, that's about knowing your client. What amenities, what grade tower they're looking for. Is it close to the metro? Have they got workers? There's lots of factors that to think about really. But those 4 are the
big ones.
Biggest,
Although I do say that about us, and we're sat in the middle of Motor City, and we can see deserts out the window.
Yeah, this is true.
Okay, moving on. What do you think it takes to be a good commercial real estate agent?
For me, I think what it takes to be a good commercial agent is having that knowledge, understanding the processes of, what license people require in particular areas. If they're looking for 40 people to be in office, what's the visa capacity? How big do they need that office to be? And at the end of the day, people can't argue with facts. A lot of the time, commercial properties is done on a per square foot basis. And people, it's not an emotional transaction, if you like. It's very much business minded. Does this work? Is it in a good tower? Is it near the metro? Is it going to work for, my clients, things like that. And so it's a lot more business driven, if that makes sense. Business
driven. I'd say from an observation from me for watching you guys work daily is you need so much more patience, especially some of the multinationals, and they have procurement departments, legal departments, sign-off departments. It can take months for a transaction to go through.
I mean, just to give you an idea, I had an international law firm that I was setting up in MENA region, and I've literally been working with them for 10 months. And that's it. Only now, after 10 months, have we managed to secure one. And that's not because there was nothing for them. It was because they were, I was trying to educate them about the process. This is how much it costs for a per square foot. This is what you need to do, and guiding them. And at the end of it, they had a great experience with myself and Allsop as well. And that's something I take great pride in, is, managing clients' expectations and building that key rapport. I'm not looking to do a quick deal.
Yeah.
You know, people that I put into a rental this year could be my buyers next year. And it's really important that they have a good relationship to come back.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm going to talk marketing quickly now. So obviously you did the job in London a few years ago now. Like we all worked a few years ago in estate agents in the UK. But the modern day, and it feels like even on a half-yearly basis, the world changes so much in terms of technology. So how are things different, or how do you market differently now than what you did maybe back when you worked in London?
I remember when we were in London and we were touting. It was a big thing. You know, we used to like print previously sold or what's on the market, and we used to door knock. We used to do it a lot, especially like on a Saturday or something like that. And thinking back now, it's crazy. And to be honest, even when I first started here, I think I even went to Carl & Lewis and was like, you know, how do you guys get the market share? You know, how are you, can we not do this? What about touting? And it was even back then I thought it was a really good idea. That was a few years ago now, obviously, but it has changed and developed, you know, so much. You know, social media plays a key thing. Commercial LinkedIn also plays like a critical role in, you know, getting our brand out there to these businesses and attracting, you know, big companies to us to sell things.
Yeah, and this is something we're focusing on. So even a year ago, I think most people would talk social media. Yeah. And it would be like a coverall for all the different platforms. But even from a company point of view, and you've just highlighted LinkedIn there, every channel has a different audience.
It really does.
LinkedIn for commercial, I agree, 100% is.
You're not going to get, you know,
are.
companies necessarily checking TikTok. You know, their main focus is going to be, you know, LinkedIn, I would say, or our website, to be honest with you. That's what I would say are the two main social media channels that we use or attract business for commercial.
Good. I've got some quick fire questions to finish. Okay. The first one is Dubai versus home. Which home's the UK? Okay. What's one thing you love from each place?
Home would obviously be my family and friends. Dubai, I think the opportunity.
Everything else?
Anything else?
No, everything else.
Oh, right, yeah. And Dubai would be the opportunities.
Yeah.
The opportunities that
that's a good way to put it.
Sure.
I did actually hear someone describe Dubai a few months ago now, but I quite liked it as the land of opportunity.
It is,
Things borrowed off America used to be like the land of hope, but yeah, it is the land of opportunity.
Yeah.
If you could be anything other than a commercial or maybe even a real estate agent, what would it be?
I used to go to drama school, so I think it would definitely be something within performing arts.
Well, Christian's going to be on to you here. Just sat off camera there. You'll be featuring on Allsop and Allsop adverts. And
this is it.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
I think the most important thing is to have tenacity and to work hard and to not give up. And I truly believe that this job, I remember everyone thinking I was absolutely crazy for moving over here with nothing, you know, with no salary.
Yeah.
And one, I'm quite stubborn, so I do like to prove a point. But two, you know, this job is so it's a mental thing more than anything else. And even now, there's days where I'm like, oh, there's got to be an easier way to make money. Like, this is just, you know, you lose a big deal or you sit in the office all day calling out and get nothing from it. You know, it's so mentally draining. But if you just keep persisting, and that's all it is. You know, I've had many conversations with Emra and thinking like, oh, I can't do this anymore. It's just having that persistence and the hard work. It's graft. You know, it really is. And I think that now, once you put in that initial 6 months, a year, then you sort of start to reap the rewards.
Do you know what? I think that we could actually take that clip and give it to the recruitment team, because I think you've summed up what you need for this job.
Yeah.
And I've just started reading a book that was recommended to me. Probably loads of people have read it, called Atomic Habits.
Yes.
But it's about that, and it's about you don't you start these habits, but and in our case, you start the job. You don't really see the results straight away, but when the results do come through, it does explode, and it might take 6 to 12 months for that to.
And it's heart-wrenching. It's really it's soul-destroying. Being in that office for 6-7 hours a day and all you're doing is calling through and you're just hearing no, whatever, having the phone slammed down you, it is so disheartening. But the reality of it is if you just look past that and just push on, and I think, you know, like I said, having that drive and that tenacity to just go for it, I think it really does make all the difference. It really does.
Come to Allsop and Allsop, we'll destroy your soul, and then we'll build you back up again. Okay, last one before we finish. What's the best thing to happen in 2023?
I think it would have to be that I've just purchased an apartment here, my first apartment.
Know. Amazing.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I've just purchased in Dubai Hills, which is where I'm currently renting now. So I love the area.
Brilliant community.
Yeah, I love it. And just purchased a property there. My first one over here.
Superb. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But on a serious note, because I'm joking about soul destroying, this is the opportunity that you can have. And I know from Carl and Lewis, they absolutely love to hear stories like that. So, and the way you're going, I'm sure it'll be the first of a few, hopefully.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a really, really good conversation. I've enjoyed that. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, please follow, like, subscribe. Any comments, questions, or anything else you want to say to us, please leave in any of the comment sections. Thank you.